Unfortunately, today in Vancouver, protesters became violent. They broke windows of Hudson Bay Company and intimidated people that were walking down the street. Many of these people were wearing masks, which indicates their anarchistic affiliations. Um, this was unfortunate because it drew attention away from the legitimate protests that were occurring. Now, Hudson Bay Company has a strong history in the colonialism of Canada. They owned much of Canada for a very long time, and thus the land that Native people were living on, they had leased from the British Empire. They were a force of oppression, and it makes sense that that should be made known to the larger public, especially with an international eye on Vancouver. However, property damage and violent outbursts towards random citizens and guests and international guests doesn't make any sense at all. When asked why they were being violent, one protester said, "We're not being violent, we did not harm any human beings," as if property damage weren't violence. It is violence. Violence is any form of aggressive behavior towards person or thing. The problem here is that when asked why they were being violent, they were only antagonistic. They didn't actually state anything. They didn't say we're being violent because British Columbia has the highest child poverty rate in Canada. We're being violent because 3,200 people live out of doors in downtown Vancouver. They didn't say anything clear or rational or anything at all. They were purely antagonistic, which really detracts and distracts from the legitimate causes for peaceful protest that many special interest groups had yesterday. There's a problem here. There's a big problem here, and it shouldn't continue. And the more this continues, the more irrational the legitimate protest and the legitimate call for consciousness and awareness of issues that are actually affecting British Columbians, that are actually affecting Canadians and Aboriginals here in Canada. The further that gets from consciousness, the more abstract and the more minimalized it can be by the broader public. Viewing these events and looking at these anarchistic elements say, well, they have no platform, they have no reason for doing this, they're being purely antagonistic. Even when the media does give them the platform to speak, why are you being violent? They're not responding with anything reasonable, thought out, or even expressible. They're just responding with more violence. This violence for the sake of being violent, and it's not getting anywhere, and it's actually discrediting the legitimate protest that were happening. And yesterday there were people singing songs, there were families in the street, there were lots of colors, there were people getting together and speaking, allowing each other a voice. And today there were 200 people in the street throwing objects, breaking windows, throwing paint. Organize yourselves. Come on. There's no reason. There's no reason to be purely destructive. If you want to make a statement about Hudson Bay Company, just put red food dye on the sidewalk and hand out pamphlets about the history of colonialism. If you want to say that there's negative aspects to the Olympics, make a concerted ad jamming effort. Put frowning faces in all the little Olympic O's you see everywhere. Well, I'm sure that's illegal, so I'm not telling you to do that. But, organize yourselves into ways that people, if you put frowning faces in all those little O's, even on 1,000 different posters or something, people would take pictures of that and send them home to their families all across the world. Think of the power of such a statement. It's a lot better than breaking a window and people look at you and go, "What the hell are you talking about? You're clearly crazy. You're being violent and you don't have any position, you don't have any reason for doing so. There's no way you can be listened to. In fact, if we tried to listen to you, you didn't say anything." So, some coordination would be a really good idea. And it would make the whole protest movement and the whole push for human awareness about the issues that are actually affecting Canadians in this area that much more powerful.